Hey guys. So I know I said I wasn't going to talk about this whole race situation, but I feel like it would I feel like it would be good for me to talk about it. And like I said, I also make videos basically because I can keep this as like a diary for myself and I can look back on, you know, all these things um, in the later years. So, um, you know, when Ray first moved in, um, things were good. We were excited, we were having fun, um, but it went downhill um, very, very quickly. I feel like, things he didn't really annoy me when he first moved in because he lived for a certain way for so long, which I was like, okay, no big deal. Um, he'll probably make a routine and get a job and help with rent and do all these things. um, that never happened, unfortunately. I've known this guy for like 4 years, and me and him were really close, and I feel like at the time he was like my family. I could trust him, I could tell him everything, and um, I thought that he could do the same with me. And we talked on the phone every single day from like morning to night. And I was like, okay, no big deal. I like this guy. And we spent so much time on the phone. And we FaceTimed each other literally from morning to night. And, I was like, okay, well, why don't you just come move in with me since I've known you for so long and I can trust you? Um, and because I saw how he lived and I saw how things affected him, and he told me everything at the time. Yeah, so he gets here, things are good, and you know, we're happy, we're excited, we're loving life, and um, that's when he tells me that he has a lot of things going on. Um, which I feel like the things that he had going on and the things that he did and said and the way he lived, I feel like he should have disclosed to me before he moved in. Um, and he failed to do so. So when he first moved in, he was like, "Yeah, I just want a couple weeks before I find a job." I was like, "Okay, no big deal. 2 weeks, whatever. I'll just look past it for now because he is new here." Um, 2 weeks went by, and I was like, "Have you started looking for work yet?" He's like, "No." And I was like, "Okay." Month went by, and I was like, "Dude, have you looked for work yet?" And he's like, "No." He's like, "No, I want to work on myself first, and I want to lose all this weight." And I was like, sitting here, like, "Dude, you haven't pitched in for rent. You haven't pitched in for your phone, which I was, me and my husband Aiden were paying for." He said, and I told him, I said, "Look, you're not pitching in for rent. You're not pitching in to help with the security deposit. You're not pitching in for your phone. You're eating all our food. Like, you need to do something to help with the household." Um, and, my mental health was going downhill from there. And I was like, I even talked to Aiden. I was like, "Look, babe, I'm going to have to get a full time job because this guy cannot do anything right." And he was like, "Yeah, I know." He's like, "You shouldn't even be working right now because of your mental health." And I was on thin ice with my mental health even back then. And Ray had this weird obsession with me. Um, and I know it. I knew at the time that he found trans men extremely, good looking and attractive, which no big deal. Except he didn't tell me that it was a fetish. He was fetishizing me. He also had a foot fetish and a skinny person fetish. So he did this thing where I would eat a lot because that's what my nutritionist wants me to do. Because I'm 120 pounds right now and I'm still shrinking because of stress and anxiety and depression, which I am seeing a therapist for. Please, so don't come at me sideways. Like I am going to a therapist for that, and I have a nutritionist, and I have like a huge team of people that are helping me, right? But no, and he would, and I have ARFID, so it's hard enough for me to eat as it is, but you put that on top of everything else, and it's just like it's impossible for me to eat. So when I would eat a lot, because that's what my nutritionist wanted me to do, he would say, "Oh crap, that's a lot of food," and I was like, "Yeah, I'm hungry." Like, and eventually he did it so much that I actually ended up starving myself all day because I didn't feel safe eating around him. Because I knew he was going to make some stupid remark like, "Oh, well, that's a lot of food. You're going to gain weight." Like, you're right. That's what I need to do. Like, I'm 120 pounds right now. And my nutritionist said I need to be at least 130 to 140 pounds. Like, my goal to gain weight right now is 140 pounds. And I'm like 20 pounds under right now because I am so skinny. I'm like a small in shirts. And I just keep getting smaller and smaller, and it's because I have food sensitivities and allergies as well, which makes it even more difficult. Um, but yeah, no, he when I would eat, he would be like, "Oh, well, that's a lot of food," or "Holy crap, you ate a lot," and I'm like, "Yes," because my nutritionist wanted me to eat a lot. Like, she wanted me eating 3 meals a day and snacks between each meal. Um, and then she wanted me to eat every 3 hours, even if that meant like snacks, which, okay, no big deal. Um, and so I was so self conscious to eat around him. Like, I would eat in the kitchen where he couldn't see me, or I would eat when he's asleep, or when he was gone at the park all day, hiding, and basically not doing anything except just sitting. Like, he was supposed to be walking around our neighborhood and downtown area and exploring Seattle, learning the area, but he never wanted to do that because he was scared of being on his own, which I don't get at 47. But yeah, so I starved myself, and it became a habit for me to starve myself until Aiden got home from work, and he doesn't get off work until 10 p.m. So he would leave at 12:30 and come home at 10. Or he would get off at 10 and then be home, because at the time Aiden took the bus, he would be home by like 10:45, 11. But now I pick him up every night because it's just a sketchy area. Um, but I wouldn't be able to eat, and I'm so in the habit of not eating all day that have continued to not eat until Aiden gets home because I was so conditioned. Or he would eat all of the food. Um, he says he wants to lose that weight, but um, I had people bringing like um, Propel and Liquid Ivy and Sprite and all these things for me because I was going through recovery at the time for my drug addiction, and I was having withdrawals and people were trying to help me stay hydrated. And he went through all of that in like 2 days. That should have lasted me, because I got like 8 cases of Propel, and he went through that in like 2 days. And that should have lasted me easily like 3 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks, because I was extremely dehydrated. And he also went through enormous amounts of food. He went through drinks like there was no tomorrow. Um, and I was just left here to starve while he was stuffing his face of all of my food that I had that I know are safe foods for me. And I don't know. So he never ended up losing a whole bunch of weight. He lost like 35 pounds, and I guarantee you he gained at least 10 or 15 back because he was eating so much. And so, talking now, moving on to the fetish stuff, like the foot fetish, the skinny person fetish, the trans man fetish. Like, I basically couldn't wear tank tops around him, even though this is what I wear for work. Um, I couldn't have my feet. I couldn't be barefoot around our apartment because he would always be like, "Oh, you have such cute feet," and I'm like, "Dude, that's nasty." Like, I don't have any no disrespect to anybody who has a foot fetish. It's just, to me, it's gross because I wear boots all day because I do construction and renovations. Um, and then, I would take my shirt off because I get too warm. And he would be like, "Oh, I love how skinny you are," and I'm like, "Not supposed to be this skinny, dude." And he's like, "Oh yeah, but it still looks good." And I'm like, "Okay." He didn't tell me about his fetishes until he moved in with us. Let me just make that clear. Um, he would not tell me anything until he got here.